All right. We're into the top five. And my five is which was actually first on my list for a long time because it came out early in the year.
Hmm.
Uh, it's Furiosa,
That's
a
my number
Mad
five
Max
too.
saga. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I thought Furiosa was as good as it could be, as good as like a Mad Max Fury Road prequel could
yeah.
be.
Sure, sure. Yeah,
I
and I
thought it
kind of like if
sorry,
he
you go
wants to
ahead.
make more. I was gonna say if he wants to make more and build on the world in like a George Lucas type way, yeah, go ahead. Like I'm all
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, I felt like it kept the constant pace, and
Yeah,
at times in the theater too, I felt like, all right, I desperately need a scene where it's just people talking. I'm getting a little too like
yeah,
into this, and
man. It's like so infectious. Like the music, the feel, the way people talk.
yeah,
There's something about it. It's like you're at a concert movie or something. It's just like so.
yeah, that's
And then when they finally, towards the end, after all the like character build up, kind of, which kind of has you on the edge of your seat because I feel like the storytelling is so good and the style is so cool that like when they finally start doing like one of the actual like war rig like chase scenes towards the end, you're like, oh my god, here we go. Like I know I've been here before. It's like watching a sport that you know the rules to. Yes, yeah, and
yeah,
but yet it like it's adding different elements like those guys who are like I don't know, I forget that like I was gonna
yeah,
say the swinging guys, but I think there's swinging guys in Fury Road, um,
yeah,
but like set pieces, like different set pieces. It's like Mission Impossible, like like that, like what are they gonna try now in this to accomplish to yeah, and it's just it's so good and it's so unique, and there's nothing like it, and just the way like fucking uh Hemsworth talks in this is just like I right off the bat I was like this is so fucking great. Um,
yeah,
just to be in this villainous world. Um, yeah,
yeah. I felt like it hit all the great things about Fury Road, but then yeah, incorporated new stuff. I think maybe what you're thinking of is like they're kind of like parachute, like
yeah,
para
or
type.
flying or something like that.
Yeah, it's like
Uh,
they flew back and their parachute like opened, and then there's like the aerial shot where they're like coming down onto the war rig.
yeah,
So
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm
Um,
all for this world. Like, is this as rewatchable as Fury Road? Probably not, because I think you
mhm.
could put that on any. You will put that on. Like, I could put on yearly forever. Like,
Yeah.
and I will never get tired of it. Because this Fury Road, there's just something so simple and perfect of it about it. Like, but I think you can keep building off of Fury Road and coming up with different storylines and continuing to create from it, and I will be there. I like. I hope he doesn't go. I don't think he's going to go too crazy because he seems like a perfectionist, this guy. But you know, like I want, I'm down for more, just, maybe not too much as to where it's like ruined.
Yeah.
Um, you know what I mean? Like I always want it like you always want it to be the same quality. Like you don't want it's like you don't want your favorite restaurant to expand too much.
Yeah.
When they said Portillo's is corporate, like that's not like a great example because Portillo's is ultra mainstream. I don't think Portillo's and Mad Max are the best comparison. I'm trying to think I'm trying to think of a good
It's
Mad Max Fury Road comparison food wise here, but
Al's beef. I don't know, to keep it in the Chicago.
yeah,
I don't know,
I think like Pequod's Pizza is like
Pequods.
Mad Max Fury Road or like Gene and Jude's maybe. Like you don't want it to expand ever.
Don't want to be
Like
too
hot dogs
oversaturated.
before it like left, that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Star Wars is so oversaturated with
Yeah,
so
yeah,
many different things, but it's like leave us wanting more. Like Mad Max Fury Road, we wanted more, and that was
yeah,
like 7 years ago or
yeah,
something. And
yeah.
so,
It was a while ago. And what's funny is they're both theater bombs, like they both
Yeah.
bombed, and this came and went,
Yeah.
and it was so good, and it's an hour, it's like 149 minutes, and I was never bored once, not for a
Yeah.
second. I left the theater so exhilarated. And yeah, and it bombed. It's just wild to me.
Yeah, I don't, especially with, you would think because like the I don't know, popularity of Fury Road just like grew so much over
Yeah,
time, and after like it was in all the like the Oscars and Golden Globes, I feel like it won a bunch of awards.
I
But
know.
then
I also
yeah,
think we're like in the particular category that is like, you know, I don't know. It's like being a it's like you're a Radiohead fan or the Smile fan or Vampire Weekend fan or something. Like it's very specific to the general
yeah,
public. I feel like there's so many people who do not give a fuck about Fury
yes,
Road. If we're just like gonna try to expand from this bubble a little bit,
true.
um, but yeah, no, like I don't get it. I definitely don't get it. It was like, yeah, Fury Road is like you could argue is the greatest action movie of all time in a lot of ways, and yeah, bomb, perfect for theaters. I remember seeing it and like not knowing what the hell like it was going to be like at all, and then it ended up blowing up as this massive thing. It was kind of like I heard it was good, kind of like if you remember hearing that Avatar was going to be good.
Yeah,
Like I heard about it like that, I was like, okay,
yeah,
that was good. I was like, okay, it just looked like a weird like thing with a lot of effects and a dystopian world. Like, what do you mean it was really good? And then I don't even think I like totally got it right away. I definitely like enjoyed my time in the theater, but then it was on like HBO all the time the following year, after the release. And I just remember sitting for it. And then like I would watch like the second half of it. And then I would be like, all right, let's like now watch the first half. And I would end up watching the full thing and I would just be like addicted to it basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
It's
like a yeah. It's like an
it's just
album you can't get enough of or something
exactly,
like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
It's really something else.
yeah. It's just insanely rewatchable. Yeah,
Yeah. But I'd understand, say like if your wife Carly John is not into Mad Max Fury Road or at all or anything like that, I'd be like, all right, yeah, that's fair. I'm not gonna be like, what? You're
it's
not?
it's definitely yeah. It's I mean that's what I'm feeling deep down. If I ever hear someone who says they don't, um, I think I want to say a friend of mine. I can't think of who, but I'm pretty sure it was a friend of mine said that they didn't like it. And I remember being like really like annoyed by that because I feel like they said they like nothing really happened or something, and I was just so unreasonably annoyed by
There's
it.
no story at all.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, but it's nothing and it's everything.
yeah, yeah. It's nothing, but it's everything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's really weird, like, because in the short storytelling that Fury Road does have, and like it kind of hits the beats perfectly, and then Furiosa, I think he has even more storytelling beats to hit.
Yeah,
So you're just kind of like in for a very different experience, but like Fury Road has like the one climactic point where like Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron like you know team up at the end, and that's like a big deal. And Tom Hardy's like says that redemption line. Um,
yeah,
but like if you really are nerding out about it enough, if you rewatch Fury Road, there's tons of like character things involved. It's just
yeah,
like you like it's if you're just not like watching it hard enough, I feel like you're just like, oh, this is just like chasing and fighting the whole
yeah,
time. It's
yeah.
really sad to me. There's really no hope for society if you really think about it.
Well, that was our collective number five,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's cool that like we aligned there
We
and
synced
we're able
up
to
in the
talk
middle.
about it
Yeah.
together. Yeah, because I don't think we are really anywhere else. I think it's all
No. I
um
think
a
we'll have
success.
some. We'll have some crossover here in the top four,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
not in the
definitely.
same order.
All right. So it's your number four then.
Yeah, my number four is Challengers,
Nice.
which I'm so surprised that's been like shunned from any awards or I felt like it was a big deal when it came out and then,
Yeah. I,
everybody just forgot. I don't know.
I did see an article. I forget who it was, but it was like the title was like, "Are the Os?" I think it's IndieWire. It's like, "Are the Oscars scared of like the horniness or something, or like,
Oh,
scared of like?" And they point to a number of films that are getting snubbed, um, and we all know very horny year for movies, if not one of the horniest we've ever
yeah.
seen. I'd say like, you know, half my top 10 has like, maybe not half, but like at least three in my top 10, four in my top 10, including like Megalopolis and The Substance, which have been said so far, are filled with sexual innuendos and like people like craving women. There's like, there's obviously Baby Girl. I think that is known for being snubbed. I think it's like a little
Maxine.
silly. Yeah, I think it's a little silly to be like, why did Baby Girl get snubbed? Like, I thought Baby Girl was good, but I don't think it's like good to like award wise. Like, I don't think so. I think it's just like it's a very well made like you know sex romp, really.
hmm
But yeah, and I've heard there's like I haven't seen these, but apparently there's like videos of like people talking about like how A24 like executives just wanted to make the horniest movies possible this year. But anyways, that may point to why Challengers is not getting the recognition it deserves.
Interesting. I thought it was great and another great theater going experience.
Yeah, yeah. This is what I was gonna say, like between this and The Substance, if I was gonna say like compete for the theater going
Oh
experience,
yeah.
like because this was like heart racing like the whole time, this movie. Yeah.
This was maybe even more intense than Furiosa
Yeah, no,
was.
like this movie was weirdly really intense. Yeah.
Just like the constant uh Trent Reznor uh what's Atticus Ross, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. The constant score throughout it was like holy shit. Like yeah, it was both
Yeah.
like I was
It's just
so
like
like
this sick
psyched.
house, like sick
Yeah.
house music the whole time. Yeah, you can like listen to it on repeat easily. It's kind of like there's like one track of The Social Network it kind of resembles, but it goes like more full
Yes.
house. And yeah, it's very key. Yeah, this
Yeah.
movie's so good.
And just the yeah, it's just shot so creatively and interesting that it's such
Yeah,
a you think it's just such a simple story and it just I don't know, he just Luca just flips it on its head and it's yeah, just so entertaining and also funny with how like over the top horny it is too.
right.
It
It's
definitely doesn't take
aware of
itself
it.
too
No,
seriously.
no, no.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of like making fun of the men a lot of the times. The men are looked as like, kind of naive for
Yeah.
feeding
Yeah.
into it a lot of the time. Yeah. I mean, this like for me really I don't know if this is weird. I don't think this is weird to say, but like it really like put Zendaya up another notch for me just because I've always like, you know, I think she's always been more like famous than how much I respected her necessarily as a star or acting wise. Like, I
hmm
like some of Euphoria, which is mainly the big thing she's done. Like, I like some of it. I like everything she does in it, but I don't like everything in Euphoria. Um, and then Malcolm and Marie was a huge miss for me. And
hmm
then, to me, and I'm not into the Spider-Mans really.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one of them.
I don't
Uh,
know that I have either. Yeah.
yeah, and then like she's in the Dunes, and I think she's good,
Mhm. Yeah.
but I don't really. I'm not thinking that I'm like, oh yeah, Zendaya is like putting the Dune team on her back, you know, or anything like that. This is the one where I'm like, where she really like she was in a perfect movie in a perfect role for her. She was like fitting for the role. Like she's beautiful in it, and she also acts really well, and she like kind of brings out the competitiveness in her and the men. Like I felt like she just killed this role, and I'm looking for I want to see more of her doing it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. Yeah, I thought she was great. The three of them just great together. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
chemistry, but then also like the tension. It was yeah, it was so good. It was just really so simple, but yeah, just such a good time.
Yeah, great filmmaker, that guy. I haven't seen everything, but you know, I
Yeah.
should. He also had that I didn't see this the queer movie,
Queer.
so came out this
Yeah.
year, the like William Burroughs movie. I heard it wasn't that super good, but I'd still like to watch it because it's it's him and it's Daniel Craig
Hmm.
and it's William Burroughs. So all right, my
Yeah.
number four is a complete unknown, and
Nice.
you thought we talked about it before. We're just getting
Oh
started.
yeah, here we go.
No, I have nothing more to say. We did it all, talked through it all.
Cool.
Yeah. But
Uh,
yeah,
cool.
it's pretty high though. Like it's higher than I would have
That's
expected. I think that's the one comment I
yeah.
would. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it's that high, but I like it. Um, and I guess yeah, then we're on to three. And
Yep.
my number three, which I know has got to be in your top three too, is Anora
Yes, yes, it's coming up.
coming up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I've there's been so much press about it too, like that comes on my feed, like kind of the way that Chalamet for Dylan. I see Mikey Madison everywhere on my
mhm.
feed, like YouTube. And then and I love this movie. And then I see interviews with Mikey Madison, and I'm trying not to be that guy who's like, oh, I'm really into the girl, the stripper girl from Anora, but then she like talks and she's super cool,
Hi, I'm Mikey Madison. I'm so happy to be here.
like
Yeah.
super into film and art, and just seems like awesome. And I'm like, great, I'm crushing on the girl from Anora right now. Real original, Luke. Nice fucking job. Way to go. Uh, but yeah, like her and Sean Baker as a pairing are they're a fantastic pairing, and I've watched like a lot of videos, like they break down like make it shooting the opening scene, and how it was like so run and gun, and how they filmed it for hours and hours and hours, and yeah, she just seems like such a she's so like obsessed with the craft of acting, and like um you would think that she was from like Brooklyn or something like that, with how good the accent
Yeah.
is and how authentic like she seems, like I don't know, like she's a girl from Brooklyn. And um uh trying to think of what else, but yeah, like and like we were saying from that interview with the directors on directors, like unlike what's his name, Brady Corbett, um I like Sean Baker a lot. He seems like he kind of reminds me of like Harmony Korine in a way, where like the movies they make are so intense and stylized, but then you see them in person, then they're kind of just like goofy people who are clearly always exhausted from how much they're creating all the time. And I've kind of liked every Sean Baker movie I've seen, and I like this one probably more than any of them easily. So, yeah, it's a good amalgamation, and it's cool to see the girl who was in Scream and also had the freak out in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood also
Yeah.
build up to where she's kind of like this Hollywood like starlet now. It's cool, it's cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what she does next. Because she seems like she might have had standards for roles, and now she can like utilize this performance to probably do whatever she wants, and do like
Definitely.
really
Yeah.
esteemed projects. Yeah.
Yeah, she was so great, and I remember her in like when I first saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I was like, wow, this girl is like amazing at this specific
Right,
role. Like
right.
she's
I remember her.
so
She kind of goes
nuts.
like, "That's what it is, man. We're going. We're that's the
And she's like,
system,
we're gonna
man."
fucking kill him.
We are in fucking Hollywood, man. Fuck 'em. I say we cut their cocks off and make 'em eat it.
Like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, how it jump started all these people, and they only had this much screen time. But if you think about it, like for them, like there's others like Sydney Sweeney and
Yeah,
Austin
Margaret
Butler,
Qualley.
Margaret Qualley, and Margaret Qualley definitely had the most opportunity out of compared to the others. But in the few little amount of screen time, they must have been like, all right, let's fucking go for it during this
Yeah,
moment right now. This is gonna like help make or break me probably.
yeah, yeah. So I think that was part of the draw too, is like seeing what that random girl from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood would do in
Yeah,
this. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, she was so good. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'll will be brought up again. Um, it'll be brought up again. My number three is I love this movie. It's The Apprentice.
oh,
Yeah,
wow. I'm glad
Ali
you are bringing this one up. Yeah.
Ali Abassi, if that's his name, starring Sebastian Stan and Jeremy Strong. So I've got the boys from Succession. I've got their two big movies of the year on my list, and so like my brother Jake, who is MIA, used to do stuff with the podcast, but he's
Yeah.
MIA. But still worth bringing him up because he still exists out there and is still loving movies. He saw this movie, and he was like, he kept telling me I should see it. And he was like, because he was telling me, he's like, I know you specifically will really like it. Which is an interesting thing like to be known for is like I will like this type of movie. Um,
Uh-huh.
then I flipped it on and um, I like immediately saw why like why he said that. Uh, just like I love like things that are about kind of crime, business, corruption, people being pieces of shit. Um, I love New York elitism, which is also why I'm like rewatching Succession again because I just love the power mongering New York business shit. Um, and obviously, also, I hate Donald Trump and I think he's terrible for the world. And this is as anti-Trump of a movie as we'll probably get. Who knows? He might shut down censorship and whatnot. And not only is this like an anti-Trump like portrayal and like bio and also in a way, but like it's kind of like a very stylized Scarface inspired view of it. And I
Mm.
like that a lot. I like that because I feel like we always talk about like remember we were talking about Goodfellas. We're like, where are the wise guys nowadays? You don't see any of the wise guys or like the mob or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the modern like mob is like us just like knowing how corrupt businessmen are or how corrupt the president is, and we know about like the tax breaks from that got like a person into power, but we know there's nothing we can do about it. And even if he says it like in the debate, he says that he got the tax cuts in the debate. It's like that Chappelle thing where he talks about Trump and he says, I know the system is corrupt because I use it.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
this movie shows Trump not only learning all these ways, which we've seen him like rise to power and presidency from the lawyer Roy Cohn, who's played excellently by Jeremy Strong. Um, I think his performance is just so entertaining and hilarious. Even more than Sebastian Stans, who is very good in this movie, of course. But I like just like what there's like a scene specifically where they go to court and it shows like Roy Cohn shows like Trump how to get off on a case. And then he's also explaining his rules for life. It's just like never lose, never admit defeat, never and like
Yeah.
lose. And it's just like it's professional like bullshitting was what it is, and like how to work the system and like how it bends for you if you're just like a never take no for an answer constant line prick. And that's what Trump has used to gain so much influence. And it's just wild to see. And I also find it, I don't find like, don't get me wrong, there were parts of this movie where I was like, um, I was definitely like scared for society watching it and also kind of disgusted. But a lot of the times I was very entertained and also like laughing my ass off watching just like these two guys get into cars and be like, he's like, Donald, what are you doing, Donald? You have to get this out there for the press. You have to buy this building. And just I just find it so funny. And even the trailer for this movie is very funny to me. Like it plays that one song from Barry Lyndon that plays over again. I don't know if you know that one, the one that's like da 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 da. You know which
No.
one I'm talking about? Oh, you must have you haven't watched Barry Lyndon in a while.
Yeah.
It's like called Sarah Bonde. But it plays that very
Oh, yeah,
famous
man.
track, and then it just shows like these two fuckers like go into court and like do some bullshit. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe to get you in the mood, you listen to it real quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it
Yes. Yeah. I know what you're talking
it's
about
like
now.
that. So there's a trailer where it's playing that, and it shows like them in court, and it shows them like it's just so great. It's just like really brings out the satire of the movie to me.
Uh-huh.
Um, and yeah, I've genuinely um, wanted to watch this movie again since I saw it, and there's a chance I'll even try to buy it. Yeah,
Nice.
I liked this movie a lot, and it went under the radar probably because it's controversial.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's too bad it really didn't catch on because I guess there's obviously half the country
Yeah, would
it
not get
would
it at all.
yeah, would not be into it, and then I feel like there's then the people who would maybe are a little Trump fatigued
Yeah,
at this point.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
And weirdly, I live in LA. We probably get every movie. It was not in theaters at all. Um,
Weird.
yeah, yeah, it was really. I think there was maybe one point where it was out, but it came and went like that.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
short.
yeah, so weird.
I feel like
Um,
over time maybe it could pick up in popularity. I don't know, as especially as he like hopefully leaves office in 4 years or dies.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think it is one of those things where like people don't know what they're getting out of it, like kind of like what I described. So like they're just like, "Ah, I'm not gonna watch a Trump thing. I don't
yeah,
want to watch any Trump thing. Um, like I was talking to one friend and I was telling him about the Trump movie, and he's like, I don't want to do anything to promote that guy, and I'm like, this is not promoting the guy like at all. Like and he had no idea. It's
yeah.
like I don't know who's making a pro-Trump movie in this day and age. I like, you know, like I don't know how that would come about. No one in Hollywood likes Trump. Like if anything, like it'd be like the most
John Voight.
pro-Trump.
Or-
Yeah, yeah, it's true. During the Megalopolis press conference where they bring up how Voight and Coppola have differing political opinions, and that's how I learned. I'm like, oh, John Voight supports. He's a Republican. Like yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't did you see well, I mean, I know you saw that I posted this, but I like photoshopped us into that news story of becoming the ambassadors to Hollywood, but
Yeah, yeah.
Carly saw
Stallone.
that and didn't realize it was actually a real thing.
Oh, like Stallone, Voight, and one other guy. Who's the other
Mel
guy?
Gibson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
It's
it's like
just so stupid.
that is really stupid. But that's those are all washed people. Like
Yeah.
they're all washed, and like they hold nothing. Like they don't make anything anymore. And one is arguably canceled already. One of
Yeah.
the three, and like, what is that going to do? Like he's acting like he's getting on the entertainment industry side, and like, um, yeah, like I don't know. He has his crowd. You know what I mean? He's not going to win anyone over. Like he has like Joe Rogan and Dana White, and like that's his side of, you
Yeah.
know, who he'll have. You know?
I don't know if they'll try and frame it as if like, oh, John Voight and Stallone and Mel Gibson would be more popular now if the woke wasn't trying to like kick them out of Hollywood or something
Sure,
like that.
that's
And
too. I don't even know if Stallone's trying to kick him out of hot. If they're trying to kick Stallone out, I don't even
yeah, I
know
don't
on with
know.
that. But yeah,
And I
yeah,
think too, to me, it almost comes across as like Joseph Goebbels, he's like the Nazi minister of propaganda or something like that, who he just made films that all
all
were
supported
like,
Hitler.
yeah, they're all pro-Nazi, anti-Semitic movies to like, yeah, propagandize the population. So that was my only thought of like, do you think this is like Trump's way to now they're going to force Hollywood to include more like pro-America, like pro-Christian America
Yeah, yeah.
movies now?
I think it could.
I
Um,
don't know. Yeah.
but like I don't know if you say like look at our lists, for instance. And this is maybe we're a little biased guys, but even if you're including the brutalist, there's not any. I don't think there's any pro-America movie. Maybe they're not all anti-America, but I don't think there's any pro-America movie on the list. Like there's even the movie number 11 for me is the movie Civil War,
Oh yeah, I
which
forgot that came
completely,
out.
yeah, which is like completely telling of the current time. Not, is scarily relevant, I think. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think like the people who are Trump supporters just watch like they'll watch movies and then they watch like all the like escapism, like uh, you know, like serial like the IP shit. They watch the IP train of like Star Wars makes me feel good about America.
Marvel and
Yeah,
yeah,
Marvel
yeah.
makes me feel good about America. And even if say they were to watch like say a Nora or something like that, um, they're probably thinking like, oh, this is which is like very like, oh wow, this is like some dark underworld world America stuff. They're probably thinking, oh, well, good Trump is gonna pull us out of make things better so it's not like all these Russian criminals around running around. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Of course, no, the Apprentice brings up some scary talk.
Yes.
All right,
Well,
you're number two.
all right, number two is still Sebastian Stan, but we're going with a different man. Um yeah, a different man just went on Max maybe like a week or two ago and I watched it like immediately. Not really I seen like a trailer for it and you heard a little bit about it, but really wasn't going into it that I would with any thought that it would be in my top 10, let alone uh two. But yeah, I really loved A Different Man. It was much more of a comedy than I thought it would be. Um, and also kind of like a tragic comedy about identity and self-worth and yeah, self-image and also could kind of relate to the substance in a lot of ways. Um,
I found that like when I started, I'm like, okay, this is a substance that's doing this, like
yeah, yeah.
going a different way about it. Like thematically, it's similar to the substance.
But yeah, just the it's a very simple story of this man with a deformity who's already very insecure and self-conscious, unconfident, and then he thinks that's all going to change once he, becomes this very good-looking guy who then women want him and he has success and all of that, but at the end of the day he's still the same guy, which I love at the end. I don't want to spoil it, I guess, if anyone out there hasn't seen it, but just like the end really hit it home for
Yeah,
me where
the end hit hard for me too. Yeah,
where he's like, you haven't changed at all,
and the laughing.
Edward.
Yeah,
Yeah. And yeah, and I really loved it. I thought it just really hit home for me, just the theme of identity and we've talked about that a lot with I feel like a lot of these movies this year, but
yeah,
um yeah, I feel like that's something you're always kind of looking for, and especially nowadays where reality just seems so murky with I don't know, all the distractions and everyone's attention span is so crazy. I don't know. I feel
yeah.
like,
You're kind of like, who am I? Let's go on Instagram and figure it out.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, I'm like this. I'm this post I just shared of this
yeah,
like the scene from this movie that I really like because it holds true to me. So that's who I am.
yeah, right, yeah,
I want to
yeah.
show people
Just
who I really am.
you can kind of like, yeah, you think like, oh, once this happens to me, then I'll be like confident and
Yeah,
myself, and
yeah,
then things will go. Yeah, and it's interesting too that he decides not to say who he is, that he's like kind of starting a new life, and that's almost like
yeah.
liberating.
And it's kind
But
of
it,
like since he doesn't have the mask on anymore, you can kind of see his
yeah,
face, kind of see how he actually feels. And then you're
yeah,
like, oh, he's like deeply insecure and deeply troubled.
yeah.
Um,
And then I think his name's Oswald in the movie comes in and
yeah,
I think the movie does a really great job too of making you be skeptical of this guy, of like why is he like it seems
yeah,
like
yeah. Like you feel he's stepping on his toe.
yeah,
Like this is his role, and you're like, yeah,
you start to feel like Sebastian Stan does, where it's like kind of questioning why this guy is like well liked and why is he so positive and everything. And
yeah,
it's funny, like I was having a conversation with Carly recently too about I had just met a friend of hers from like high school, and I remember her talking like when they first met, she was like new to their like musical theater program at school that Carly was in, and a lot of the girls didn't like her at first because she was all of a sudden like super popular and everybody loved her when she got in. But then it was like the thing of, oh, the reason everybody likes her and she's popular is because she's super nice and like a great person. And
yeah.
I
So they're
think,
jealous of her good qualities.
yeah. And so I felt like that's like, it was so weird. I feel like I had that conversation like right the same, like, one, or like, I don't know, within a day or so of seeing a different man. And it really it struck me too. It's like, you feel kind of skeptical of this Oswald guy, of why he's like everyone likes him and why he's so nice, like what's up his sleeve, and then it turns out it's like, oh, he's just a really great guy, and and that's why people like him. And
Yeah,
even
yeah.
though
It's like being
you
resentful of people who are actually just good.
yeah, yeah, and so now this guy who has this similar deformity that he had is he
Just has
has
a
all
totally
these
different
things.
attitude about it. Yeah.
Yeah, he has these things that he wanted all along without having to change his physical appearance. And it's because it's what's within, George. It's all the within. But yeah. Anyway, long-winded way of saying I really liked it. Different man.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you watched it, and I was like, "Oh man, he really liked it. That's way better than I thought expected." And so I watched it, and I had very high expectations because of that. And I think I liked it. I don't think I liked it as much as you because I think like some of the Kaufman-esque stuff that
hmm
goes on towards the end, I was like, I fell out of it more. But I definitely liked it. Like I liked the first half more than the second half.
hmm
But yeah, I liked it, and he's so great and deserves the Golden Globe most definitely.
Yeah, he's so great. Yeah.
And yeah, there's it's really unique. Um,
hmm
like the substance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah,
There's a vibe to it that I felt reminded me of like a, I don't know, like a sitcom or comedy from like the early 2000s.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
hard to explain, but I don't know, there was kind of like a nostalgic quality to it that made me feel like it was a movie from, you know, yeah, the early 2000s in a good
yeah.
way.
No, I can see that. Yeah,
Yeah. It's my only way to describe what
how
I'm
is this
thinking.
getting made nowadays? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm still not sure how I feel sometimes about like I need to rewatch like Charlie Kaufman movies. That's what like A Different Man reminds me of, like a Charlie Kaufman
Yeah, it
movie.
definitely is. Yeah.
And I'm not sure how I totally feel about his work. I need to rewatch some of his stuff. Like I know I love Eternal Sunshine, but then there's other movies where like they get so crazy, like Synecdoche, New York, and there was that
hmm
one I that came out. Well, you'll have to remind me what it was called. I'm thinking of Ending Things.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that?
it. Yeah. A
Yeah, yeah. It came
couple
out
years
like
ago.
yeah, yeah. And I remember it was like at the top of your list. I don't know if it was at the top of my. It was not towards the top of my list. Maybe like in the middle or something like that. But it was on my list, and that was another movie too where I think like it just like I fell out of it like because it got his
hmm
because it gets complicated. Like it gets really crazy, and I felt like that
Yeah.
Different Man got really crazy, like
Yeah.
in a Kaufman-esque way, and
Yeah.
I fell out of it because like the first half was like just simple and it was unexpected. Um,
hmm
yeah,
Yeah. I think I kind of had the opposite, I guess. I once it got more like Kaufman-esque, then I it really started to like click.
yeah,
Then I was like, oh yeah, I do love this. Yeah,
yeah,
and I think once I was for sure late to like Charlie Kaufman, but I remember whatever the first Kaufman movie I watched, it might have been like not necessarily directing, but writing. I remember I kind of got like hooked on that vibe. And
yeah. I definitely want to go back and rewatch everything. I want to watch Adaptation and
yeah,
being John Malkovich and like everything.
maybe it was being John Malkovich.
Yeah.
Um,
And apparently he's
but
got a
yeah, yeah.
book that's really great too. He's like his
Oh,
books are
interesting.
yeah.
Um,
Even like Coppola said in like his one of his Megalopolis interviews that his films feel like Charlie Kaufman movies because he always becomes the character in the film. Uh,
interesting. Yeah.
it's a really interesting thing to look back at. Like it's kind of meta for him. Like when he was making Apocalypse Now, he became Kurtz. When he
hmm
was making Godfather 2, he became Michael because he started pushing his family away to make the film. It's really wild.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, adaptation is just so bonkers and interesting. That's what
yeah,
I think I love about it is that they're just such strange ideas that, um, I don't know, I feel like pulls them off. And,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I remember being really like moved and into, I'm thinking of ending things when I
Yeah,
saw
no,
it.
I was
But
looking
yeah,
at lists because we're talking about doing that episode where we go over our lists, and I was looking at your lists after
yeah,
I looked at my list, and I think I'm thinking of Ending Things was like your favorite movie of whatever year it was.
yeah, I really, now it's making me want to rewatch that one. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and
Um,
actually, I kind of want to do that episode, go down that rabbit hole because I go back and I realize how many movies I forget about.
oh yeah,
Um, and I'm like, holy shit! Like I loved that movie, and I never think about it ever. I would never remember it if it weren't for Letterbox, and I wonder why that is, and it makes me concerned, you know, for my memory due to like the times again we're living in, and like,
yeah,
um, yeah, because I feel
yeah,
like maybe say if you lived in say the '90s or earlier even, right, like any era before the '90s, like you probably do remember the films that came out better, or like
yeah.
no, yeah, I feel like you have
But
to because you have to use your memory. You had to back then. You don't have these things that like are preventing you from doing it or are just taking up all the space. I feel like
yeah,
uh,
I think part of that too is, I mean, we definitely didn't see like 50 movies a year before streaming.
that's also
Like,
true. I mean, if you had to, the amount of legwork you had to do. Oh my God,
yeah.
yeah.
And because you had to see them in the theater or you a
Yeah,
DVD
that's
after.
also true.
But
Maybe we're plowing through them at an unreal pace. Um,
yeah,
and there's people who are doing it way more than us, too.
yeah.
But like, what was I gonna say? And like, just to go off this, like, um, at the end of the year, my brother Jake will always ask me, like, what were some of your favorite albums of the year? Like, what music have you been listening to lately? And I listen to music constantly, but, and I listen to all genres. I listen to mostly everything, and I couldn't tell you. I never can tell you. Just it falls out completely what I was listening to. But I listen to a lot of new stuff, but I never can remember like if you could ask me what my favorite albums were of 2024, I really couldn't tell you because I listened to a lot.
Yeah, I feel I used to when I was younger, I used to have more of a grasp on like like I don't know what I was listening to, like when it came out, like being new. And now I listen to stuff and I think it's new. I'm like, oh, this is great. Like this is some like
Yeah,
new stuff. And then I see that it was released in like 2000 or like 2021 or something. I'm like, oh no, this is just the
late.
first time I'm ever hearing it. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Or
yeah.
I get very obsessed with things that came out a while ago, and then I get very obsessed with that. Like I'll get very obsessed with like Tim Heidecker's stand-up special. And people will ask me what I've been watching lately. I have been watching a lot of stuff, but I can't remember. But I could tell you I'm obsessed with Tim Heidecker's stand-up special.
Yeah, that's uh yeah, I don't know. It's like there's
There's so much stuff. Yeah.
just so much in that there's certain things that you remember. And I think too for me, like when I see something in the theater, I remember those movies just way more.
Yeah, I mean that's like partly the beauty of like just forcing yourself to still
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Um yeah. My number two is Challengers. I don't know if I have much more to say about it. Yeah, I really don't.
Yeah.
I think I'm blowing my loads in like when you do it. It's unfair. You're just taking all my loads. That's it.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess for now we're down to number one. My number one is The Substance, which we talked about a lot. I feel pretty good about it. And I guess just to piggyback on what I mentioned earlier too is like how I loved how over the top it was and how it just kept going. Because I
Yeah,
feel like also when you watch 50 plus movies a year that
yeah, yeah,
and other stuff, you kind of feel like you see everything. Like, I don't
yeah.
know, like
It
you're
reminds you. It sticks in your head because of that. Like Challengers sticks in my head because of the feeling I get. It's like all the
yeah.
feelings you get from it. Like Anora sticks in my head because of the sex scenes. Challenger sticks in my head because of
Yeah.
the sex scenes. That's why it's my number two and my number one.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. The sex scenes. But yeah, it's just
Like for you, it was like the dance scenes.
yeah, the dance scenes. Oh yeah. The fitness video scenes. Um but
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I mean
never
this
told anyone before this, but like I used to watch tons of aerobics dance scenes, kind of like these, and
really.
that is yeah, that's what got me off back in the day.
Wow. Oh man.
No, I've never watched. I never watched it. I used to work out to them with my mom, and they were. It's a pretty fun. It's just like a funny time capsule of like
Yeah.
just like that those used to exist that people
Yeah.
I mean they kind of still do, but like the style of them, like the like
Yeah.
80s style that I feel like they're kind of copying off in this, and then they turn it into the whatever Margaret Qualley's is, but like the one Demi Moore does with the style of it, like that is such a thing of back in the day.
Yeah. Like the Jane Fonda dance videos or
Yeah.
aerobics exercise, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I just remember being a kid once and like my mom put on her workout video and was gonna do it, and they're like doing the like leg raises or whatever, and I was like, I'm gonna work out with mom. And it was like, and I was doing like
Yeah.
one and two, and I'm like a kid.
Yeah, yeah, you're starting early. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get them on them early. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't realize how like what's in front of you, how like silly it kind of is.
Yeah. And yeah, that, just the set design too, that hallway that looks like it's in The
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Shining.
yeah. The one you see every time. Yeah, yeah. First shot of it, I was like, oh, shining, like right there.
Yeah, yeah. It's my
So
my number one.
it's a worthy number one.
Number one of 2024.
Yep, my number one is Anora. Uh it's funny, like going back to the list reflection thing of lists of years past. I look at my list and I go like, okay, why did I order it this way? Why did I want to, order it this way? And I realize like I've always done it because I've been trying to be true to myself always.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and like one year, we'll do the list episode, but I have a year where my number one is like, and we'll always go back to 2019. Like 2019, so many great movies, right? I could have picked Uncut Gems. I could have picked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Uh, there's so many. I picked The Beach Bum because I was trying to be so true to myself. You know what I mean? Like, and I think
Yeah.
my number two was like Honey Boy, by like Shia
Wow,
LaBeouf's movie.
forgot
Yeah,
about that
I
one.
haven't watched that movie since then, but it's my number two of that year. Meanwhile, I've watched the other films like Uncut Gems and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a bunch. Um, but so that's like what I think I was going for, say, with The
Yeah.
Apprentice being number three. Um, and Anora, I don't think I'm really trying to do anything with that. I think like genuinely, like I saw this movie in theaters and I was like, yeah, I like this movie more than definitely any movie that came out this year. Yeah, like, and that was plain and simply it. Yeah, I thought it was very based in realism and also very funny. And I loved diving into this strange world with this Russian kid.
Yeah.
I thought that was so like wild, like just to come up with like that dynamic between a Brooklyn stripper girl and a Russian spoiled ass Russian kid.
Yeah.
Um, and I always like as I've said, like with other like say The Apprentice or something. I love like when movies are very seductive about wealth, and then it ends up kind of turning on the characters in the movie. Because I think we all kind of like it. We all kind of like the fun of like the seduction of wealth in film, and then it's like probably some of the best stories in film ever are just some character following and falling into greed and wealth, or some loophole in society that they found is able to give them something that they didn't have, and then that ends up like kind of destroying them. And that's it's like a very classic American story, and that's why I feel like Anora is also just a like very great American movie. you know yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it covers like all Sean Baker movies, covers like an obscure subsection of America, like
Yeah,
this
yeah,
sex worker in Brooklyn or whatever, and then like
yeah,
a section of these Russian like immigrants,
yeah.
like in this specific part of New York, and
Right, right. I found that specifically interesting. Like these Russian people who are like just using New York as their hub for
yeah,
some reason, and they clearly have power of some sort, and you don't know, you don't get why,
yeah,
but they just do. That's just like how dense our world is, like with these different subsets of people, like
yeah,
working for other people. Um, but yeah, like this Russian oligarch is a king, like he's a king and ridiculously wealthy for some reason. The kid can afford to just live in a house bigger than we will probably ever afford by himself, like
yeah,
playing video games and just like being a total piece of shit. And in a way, I think we all kind of wish we could live like that Russian kid for a
yeah.
weekend, if anything.
I kind of felt like it was gonna be bad, like mobster guys, and it's like, oh no, they're just like
Right.
they're kind of like just
They're kind of
regular guys in this
guys trying to
world,
do their
like
jobs. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
working, and
Yeah. No, and then it felt very real, especially when
yeah,
they're like in the car towards the end and like they're always like looking for him and it feels like they're all like they've come to like the same level and they're just each in there for their different self-interests, but it felt like the way they ended up starting relate the way she ended up relating to them through it was very interesting and felt very real. It just felt very real. I don't know how he
yeah,
does it, but he just creates these scenes that feel like you're actually in the car and like these are not actors, these are very documentary feel, like almost
yeah,
like
for
a
sure.
Pennebaker documentary or whatever. There's this like one song from the movie that is always like stuck in my head. It's like this song where she's like dancing for him in his house. Um,
Hmm.
and it's just like it just goes like it just goes like pussy drip a drip a drip drip drip. And I find that song pops into my head and I'll be walking around like I'll be like folding clothes in my house in my place or like driving to work and I'm like pussy drip a drip a drip drip.
Just singing to yourself.
It's just a ridiculous song. It's just like the soundtrack is filled with this like ridiculous like crunk stripper music
Yeah, yeah.
that like adds to kind of the absurdity of the movie. Yeah, but yeah, it's Anora, my number one. Challengers, my number two. Apprentice, my number three. I'm
Oh,
not gonna
I gotta,
get...
I gotta keep
and
track.
then and then a complete unknown again was my number four. Furiosa, my number five. I don't know if you remember, John. The Substance was my number six,
Six?
and then Dee Dee was my number seven. At eight, A Real Pain, and then I go all the way. Saturday Night was my number 14.
Yeah, you just keep going like 172 was
And that's all the movies I watched from the past year.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a solid year for movies. I'm not like one of those people. I never believe like, oh, this year sucked for movies. I never really think that when people always say, "Man, why weren't there any good movies coming out?" I don't really believe in that because I mean, you know better than me even because look at all the movies that I you watched that I didn't but I always believe there's movies that are good coming out. You just have to find them and
Yeah.
also just I mean I don't know I think every movie on my list other than The Apprentice and Megalopolis was a very accessible easy to find movie. I don't know, honorable mentions for me I would say I really liked M. Night Shyamalan's Trap.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
That almost made the top 10. It was really good. I think it went on a little too long at the end, but damn did I like that. Um
That was a really entertaining one, and I think there's like a lot of M. Night movies, there's so much you can be like you can like question so many decisions, but it's still so like it's the yeah, just a
Yeah.
fun movie
Just
that
as
I
just as a concept, I was like, this is a fantastic concept. I just love how that he's all like going for it like this. Like the
yeah.
budget is so big for this concept because it's M. Night Shyamalan, and I love how I liked how it was Shyamalan's daughter as the pop star. And what's his name? Hartnett is fantastic in this movie.
Yeah. I did like Heretic quite a bit
I didn't
actually.
see that either. I
Um
yeah.
which I felt like that was maybe divisive. I don't know. I think it started out really great. I was really way more into it than I thought I would be, and it's interesting the like religious aspect it took into it that was like kind of like turned into a spiritual debate throughout it. I kind of liked It's What's Inside, which is a Netflix movie.
I didn't see that one
Um,
either.
it's not like one that would ever be like at the top of your list, but I thought it was a fun horror movie,
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
fun
I heard.
horror comedy that I really thought was going to be like pretty bad because it seemed like it was just thrown on Netflix, but I enjoyed that quite a bit. Yeah. Oh, and I'll also throw in Love Lies Bleeding.
Yeah,
Uh,
Love Lies
I
Bleeding
like
was
that one a lot too. Yeah.
um I'll throw in a couple more. Saturday Night I liked,
Hmm.
of course. Civil War I really liked. I brought that up before, but I remember getting out of the theater of Civil War and feeling kind of pretty affected. Um and this one is random, but The Lord of the Rings, The War of the
Oh.
Rohirrim.
I all of a sudden on Letterboxd one day started seeing people log yeah,
Yeah.
this animated Lord of the Rings movie I'd never heard of. Yeah.
I don't think everyone liked this either, but I saw
Hmm.
this in a packed theater and I was you'd have to tell me what you think of it. I was all for it. Maybe it's just because I'm such a Lord of the Rings nerd and I loved how it was an anime and I was just happy for anything Lord of the Rings, but yeah, I liked it. At one point, this movie was in my top 10. Like right
Wow.
after I saw it, it was in the top 10. Of course, I saw a lot after that, but I was like, yeah, I had a great time seeing War of the
Cool.
Rohirrim. Yeah, we don't know how to end episodes here, so that is the end. That is our top 10, and uh, deal with it.
Yeah.
This is our movie podcast, so we're gonna do our top 10s,
Gonna do what we want.
and that's the top 10. All right.
Yeah.
More stuff on the way. We're gonna do the bummies again, which is more variety than top 10. We gotta think of categories. We have a lot of work to do. Get a
Yes,
little
indeed.
overwhelmed just thinking about it. John has to make the cards. I gotta write
Yeah.
monologue jokes. John has to write monologue jokes. It's the biggest production that the Cinebums offer